Two very contrasting games on a long Saturday from the desert. It all started with a humdinger that ended up in a 2-run victory for Kolkata, which looked like it could have gone either way till the very last ball. In sharp contrast, what we've just witnessed is Bangalore against Chennai, a match that pretty much headed down one road and stayed on that road, despite the fact that there were ways for the opposition to come in, but they simply chose not to. Yet again, it was a run chase, a futile run chase, and that ended with a significant victory for the Royal Challengers Bangalore. Let's just confirm how it finished. 169 for 4, Virat Kohli's men, based on his magnificent 90 not out of 52 deliveries. And Chennai, in reply, were pretty much never in the chase. Ever since the power play yielded almost nothing, 132 for 8 is what they finished with in their 20 overs. To discuss this game and the previous one on My 11 Circle presents Cricbuzz Live, we've got Joy Bhattacharjya and Simon Doull. Simon, we were almost out of breath at the end of the previous game. This time, we could put our feet up and say, I told you so.
Yeah, we put our feet up like the Bangalore boys did at the back end of the game, because they didn't need to worry too much about it. It had gone away from Chennai. There was no chance for them to win it. Again, they just let that run rate get too high. And I worry about the fact they do not have that power. They just don't have the power hitters at the back end like some of the other teams do. You look at a Delhi side, you look at a Mumbai side, at 5, 6, 7, 4, 5, 6, they've got enormous power to clear the boundaries. Delhi and Mumbai have got that. Even Kolkata have it to an extent, whereas Chennai just don't have it at the moment. And, you know, they're struggling. And it's sad, because it's kind of almost like when you watch those great football sides, isn't it? Or those great sides that have been at the top for so long, and then you just see their demise or their downhill slide. And, you know, it's not quite at that point yet, but gee, it's not far off.
Yeah, I wasn't going to get Simon to mention a particular football side, because that would start a whole new discussion. But sticking to the cricket, Joy, it was one of those things you can't believe this is the same side that inflicted a 10-wicket victory, a crushing victory just a few days ago.
I have some bad news for you. You wanted to avoid football. I've decided to go to basketball, because I want to show you a book.
Oh dear.
This is Phil Jackson winning 3 straight championships, the Lakers, with Shaq and Kobe. They tried to have another team with everyone together, and everyone was just too old. They were not good enough, and they couldn't do it. And that's what happens when you have dynasties. At some point in the dynasties go off. You cannot keep winning at the top continuously. If you see Mumbai, they went down, they came up. Every one season they go down, they come up again. Chennai has stayed there, and the price they paid for consistency is having the same team. And when you have the same team, that team ages. And that's what's happened to them.
Simon, you're tall enough to participate with Joy in this discussion. I'll just sit and read a magazine while the two of you discuss basketball.
Yeah, I love basketball. Love watching it. The other one, Joy, I mean, I hate to put people off watching Cricbuzz Live because it's brilliant, but The Last Dance, I've watched that recently as well with Michael Jordan, and absolutely superb. If once you finish watching all of the Cricbuzz and all of the videos that we've got online, you may be able to watch some Netflix if you wanted to. Just saying. Yeah,
well, it's one of those things. No matter what references you make, it seems like a familiar story all over again. But while you can say commiserations to Chennai, you have to give kudos to Bangalore, because even when the opposition is, climbing into you and doing whatever they are, or they are surrendering in that sense, you still have to be able to go and finish that. And that's what Bangalore did well today.
Yeah, and team selections go straight to that. Chris Morris getting back in, getting fit, makes a massive difference to that side. Gives them a little bit more potency up front with that new ball. Sony again was superb. Washington Sundar, superb with the ball. And I think, we can easily look at the teams that crumble, and Kings 11 sort of missing out on their chase earlier today, Chennai missing out on their chase today. But we've got to also look at how good the bowling has been at times. For Kolkata this afternoon, and for Bangalore tonight, I thought that the bowling was superb. They fielded well. The fielders backed their bowlers up. And I thought Virat actually captained the side pretty well tonight. He did a very good job rotating the bowlers. He brought the guys in at the right time. Yes, it was a team that was underperforming slightly in Chennai, but the bowling unit I thought was superb.
Yeah, I mean, certainly if you look at it that way, I mean, we're waiting to see what Captain MS Dhoni has to say at the end of the game. Certainly would like to pull out a few snippets from there. But if you look at the chases that we've talked about, or lack of chases, if you can call it, in this particular tournament. It's really been a woeful story. We keep reminding you 7 times, and you have a look at that. Started well, and that one anomaly, you have to call it an anomaly, 10-wicket victory. They crushed the opposition, but every other time, it's not that they've been completely out of the game. They've just let themselves go out of the game by the 10-over mark.
No, absolutely. And and if you see that 10-wicket win, one of the hallmarks of the 10-wicket win was they never allowed the run rate to go over 10. They kept it under 10 and they kept it there. Here, every other match, they let it, they allowed it to slip into those 10s, 11s, 12s. You know, it was like, as I was writing on Twitter, it's like an 80s parent, you know, till they're in their teens, they don't even bother. And, you know, by the time you come around 13, 14, 15, they can't even, they don't have the ability to make those 13, 14, 15. And that's the issue that they're facing right now. They just cannot put their foot in the pedal in the last few overs like they used to.
The question really begs, Simon, is why is this happening? Because if it happens 1 game, 2 games, 3 games, you know, early in the tournament, all the teams had a bit of rust. Virat Kohli looked as if he couldn't bat. You've seen he sorted it out. Most teams have had problems. They've sorted it out. We are 7 games into the tournament. Isn't it about time Chennai should have sorted out those problems?
Yeah, look, it's match practice, which every franchise is probably having the issues with. They're not able to turn over the strike. And this is one of the things when you look at teams that are slightly older, not as quick between the wickets, first 10 overs, too many dot balls. That's a massive problem for the Chennai Super Kings. Have a look at this. Yeah, the guys have been doing some great work. Faced legal deliveries faced 420, dot balls 181. So it's a 43%. That's over 2.5 deliveries per over are dots. It's just not good enough. It is not good enough. And you watched Virat Kohli tonight. We talked about it earlier. He faced 5 dot balls in 52 in his innings tonight. Now, I'd look at that and I would guess that would be right at the bottom as far as teams are concerned in the first 10 overs. So they're not picking up singles because they're not quick enough between the wickets at times. They're not urgent enough. And there was a lot of commentary about that tonight. But also, I don't think they're hitting the boundaries enough either. So they don't have the massive power. They're not picking up the singles. That's a really ordinary combination when you're looking for runs.
And Joy, it's one thing to look at the numbers in isolation or just look at cold numbers. We've actually seen what's been happening out there. And even in the power play, I mean, when we were joking about trying to get that My 11 Circle badge of honor, I said 40 and I was almost embarrassed. I said, oops, I've gone a little too low, have I? And then suddenly they don't even get close to 40 except in 9.5 overs. So you could see that it was just after that one Watson boundary of Morris in the first over, they just froze.
Yeah, and that's what genuinely bothers me. You know, if Chennai had gone down like 127 for 9, collapsed in 15, 14, trying to get there close and not, I don't see intent early enough. When you know that in the last few chases you haven't managed to turn on the gas in the end and really press on the accelerator, then you should be going early. There wasn't intent early. And look, I can't blame a Jagdishan. He's coming to the side. He's trying to hit bowling, which is probably of a much higher standard than he's used to playing on a regular basis. And then he's worried about saying that, have I done enough to retain my place in the side? But the rest of the guys need to do something about it. And they have the quality to do it. One is about age, the other is about intent. A very interesting word that, Simon kept using, urgency. Where do you see urgency? I mean, you can be 35, you can be 45 and show urgency. There wasn't urgency. And that's what should bother CSK. I would love to hear what they say in the press conference today.
Yeah, I can tell you something. We were, when I was harking back to the CPL for a moment, every time there would be any reference to all of us Indians who were there, they would keep asking us, can you tell us what Praveen Tambe has for breakfast? Because he was the hardest working of all the cricketers in that entire tournament, and he's touching 50. I mean, that was an absolutely incredible story. So it just shows that even late 30s, maybe you can just step back, take a couple of steps back, but you can stay fit and you can show that urgency that Simon mentioned.
Yeah, and it's an attitude thing, isn't it? And I look at it and there's so many ways you can look at attitude. And attitude is not professionalism. It's not about a paycheck. Professionalism is about attitude. And that's one of the big things I think that the modern day player it's something they really need to learn first and foremost. And we're just seeing parts of it in different areas of the world at the moment. So being a professional is not about getting a paycheck. Being a professional is about an attitude, and then the rewards come after that. And that's, you've got to always remember, if you're collecting that check, you've got to have the right attitude to go out there and do the job.
Yeah, and I've been trying to pick up on what MS Dhoni said, and he's sort of talking about, we talked about urgency. He's talking a bit about responsibility, saying that they didn't have enough power after those 6 overs. And, it's up to them. No matter how much confidence he can give in others, at the end, they have to do it on their own. So obviously it's wise words. He'll always say the right things. But the point is, after a couple of games, those right things need to be turned into action.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, I can perfectly understand this situation, because you don't know what to say under these circumstances. You really don't know what to say. The team needs to really sit up and say, do we really want to win this? Are we really trying to win this? Because right now, it may be possible, but from the outside, it doesn't look as if they're trying hard enough. And that, I think, worries their fans more than anybody else. If today CSK doesn't qualify for a season, it's happened. These guys have given an incredible run, 9 straight qualifyings, 3 finals, 3 championships, finals in all but 2 of the years. And people will say, it's okay. It's going to happen once in a while. What I think would bother their fans is they don't seem to be trying hard enough. And whether that's true or untrue is a different matter. But that's the problem.
Just picking up from that, Joy, I'm just adding one more line to what he said. And we've already talked about that. He said we need to do something about it. We can't keep turning up. And it's almost the same thing that's happening. Maybe the individuals are different, but I think we are better off playing the other way around, as in play the big shots. And even if you get out, it's fine. That's exactly what we're talking about. I'm picking this up off the Cricbuzz app, and it's so true, Simon.
Yeah, it is true. And look, the season's not done. It's not over and done with yet. The problem will be, and what I would like to see from Chennai is some changes and a look forward. Hazelwood, Santner, they're the future. They're the future of your overseas players. And Shane Watson's not the future of your overseas players. Dwayne Bravo's not the future of your overseas players. So when the time comes, if it be 2 games down the track and they cannot qualify, 2 or 3 games down the track, can't qualify, then we look at next year. We're going to be back, whether we're back in India, whether we're back in Dubai. Who knows? Who knows what's going to happen? But you look at that, their losses down the left-hand side. That's all their games and their 2 wins and their losses. They've got Sunrisers, Hyderabad. They've got Delhi, Rajasthan, Mumbai. Now, they can target Hyderabad, Rajasthan definitely as 2 wins in the next 3, and they might be a chance. But if they drop 2 of those games, it's done. It's pretty much done if they drop 2 of those games. So then what you need to be looking at is, okay, how do we build? What do we do about next year? Do we give Hazelwood? Do we give Santner? Do we give these guys some experience and see what they can do? Because we need to know whether they're capable of it or not.
Yeah, also a couple of games in Sharjah coming up. And since Tony's talking about not having the power, yes, it may have slowed up a little bit as the last game showed, but it helps to have a few big 6-hitters when you go to Sharjah. But that is the schedule that lies ahead. Let's again continue to give credit where it's due from the opposition. Washington Sundar, we briefly touched on it. How brilliant was he in that power play? He's bowling at a great economy rate and picking up wickets. Sometimes we say we are happy with one or the other. And have a look at that.
No, absolutely. And I think one of the things that you look at, how he's been bowling in the power play, it's a confidence, one, that Virat Kohli has given in him. 2 is that this Abu Dhabi pitch, and you'll see a lot of people talking about it being a bit two-paced. It means the ball, sometimes stays low, sometimes it comes on faster. So one of the advantages is if it's two-paced and you don't turn the ball very much, you're bowling stump to stump. If he swings and misses, there's an LB chance, there's a wicket chance. See what happened to Shane Watson. He just lined him up and just kept bowling at that length, wicket to wicket. And all that meant is it needed one mistake. That ball stayed a little bit lower than maybe Watson would have wanted, and he got the wicket. So 2 things. One is that the confidence to keep that line, even if you're hit. Second is the confidence that your captain has said that, you can come and bowl early in the innings. And see, that's made a hell of a difference for them, because now they have Morris, they have genuine pace in Navdeep Saini, they have the spin option up front, And now they're beginning to cook as a bowling side. You're beginning to see something happening out there. And that bowling card is a superb illustration of that, exactly.
Yeah, the
Yeah, they're in
Shivam
the
Dubey is just an anomaly at the moment, but otherwise everything, as you said, is spot on.
Yeah, then they're in a position now whether they can look at that and say, okay, well, that's how from number 6 down, number 5 down, we've got options. We've got really good options. So we can use those guys. Washington Sunder's brilliant. I think he's been a revelation for them in the opening overs. The bigger grounds, he loves bowling in the power play. He said that, and that's a great thing. So what I look at that now and I think, okay, so the option for Bangalore, if they want to change something, Finch is a little bit out of form. So they can look elsewhere at the top of the order if they want to do something different. And so they now have options on the positive side. If someone is slightly out of form, they're winning, and they can still make a change, or they can ride that storm out. And they can say, we back you, you're good enough. He looked, I mean, the last couple of innings, actually, he's looked a little bit ordinary with his footwork, Aaron Finch. So I'm not sure what's going on there, but tonight, he didn't look like the Aaron Finch we know and the Aaron Finch we've seen, because normally he is so much better than that. Maybe they can give him a little bit more time.
Yeah, it reminds me
Just
of
to
this
finish
great
off,
scene.
go ahead, Joy.
Yeah. It just reminds me of this great scene in this film called A Flish Called Wanda, where the villain in the last scene is trying to get away and his feet are stuck in the cement, and he's then, and Aaron Finch looked exactly like that. He looked as if both his feet were stuck in the cement. He just couldn't move his feet. And exactly, Simon, you've hit the nail on the head. It's not a question of Aaron Finch getting out early. It's a question of Aaron Finch not looking like the Aaron Finch we know. No footwork out there, just waving at balls outside the stumps. It's just, he's just out of sorts. And maybe it's a matter of just sitting and having a chat with him, because the problem is the schedule is very tight. They're playing literally very, very 3 games over the next 6-7 days.
Yeah.
Just one more point I want, reading up on what Washington Sundar had to say. We talked about Virat Kohli smiling when he was playing his innings. Washington Sundar has said, enjoying bowling in the power play, glad to have the confidence in that. But one more point, Simon, from a technical perspective. When we talk about bowlers, we talk about the faster bowlers who bowl you searing Yorkers, a bit of extra pace, a heavy ball like an Andre Russell. With spinners, it's the mystery spinners of a Chakravarti or a Chahal who rips it. Washington Sundar comes across as someone you don't really look at as a threat when you list the SWOT analysis of the opposition, and yet he gets under your skin.
Yeah, he's as canny, as Ashwin. I think he's got all the tricks. He's young. He knows exactly what to do, because he's learnt a lot of his bowling at Chinnaswamy, which is tiny. He's had to learn to find that right length that they can't quite get hold of, but it's not too short to get back and pull either. And the other thing I like about Washington Sundar is he actually does try to turn the ball. Now, that might sound silly. He's a spinner. Oh, he's trying to turn it. Simon Doull's made a huge revelation. No, but some of them don't. Some of them don't really give it a rip. And there is a big difference between a guy who just looks to just sort of get it up there and give it, and one who really rips the ball. And I think Washington Sundar does absolutely try and rip the ball. So when there is some turn on offer, he's going to get that as well. He's a very clever bowler.
Yes, but we've already talked about him enough. We've discussed his brilliance, that fabulous 90. It's inevitable that he simply pushed us, not just pushed the bowlers, to make him our feature for this particular game's boost stamina meter. He was outstanding. Batting for as long as he did, we can see that the numbers will obviously back it up. Rating is 91.8. We know what he got, but look at the combined total of what he ran. 48 singles and 14 twos, which was for himself and his partner, and 60% of the team's runs during his stay came via running. We often talk about fitness and we say it almost as a throwaway line, but there is no better example in cricket, possibly even in Indian sport, than Virat Kohli and fitness.
Oh, absolutely. I think Virat is the epitome of fitness. And I think what happens is that he is fit, and the way he pushes himself also pushes the rest of his team, which is why it's so important for Virat to be up and running. And while Virat was doing okay so far, he wasn't really in those terms, as you say, up and running till today. This is the Virat, who's what you call, as they say, lion rampant. He's now up there, I'm going to go and get them down. And, this lion analogy, I know it's, Simon and me are both going after it for a while, but the fact of the matter is that's exactly what he reminds you of when he's in form. Like, I am out there and I am going to lead my pride to over the opposition. And look, he's just, his fitness is how fit he is. It's just so difficult to see, how much effort has gone behind. It's like an iceberg. Fitness is like an iceberg. What you see out there is 5% of what they actually put in, and his training routine is legendary, absolutely legendary.
Yeah, trouble is that the Chennai team were a bit like the Titanic. Then they ran into that iceberg, and that's all they could see, and that was it. They were demolished, and it means that the points table has taken the boys from Bangalore a little bit higher into that mix of teams who are just under Mumbai and Delhi, and there you can see it. A confirmation, they slip into fourth place behind Delhi, Mumbai and KKR on 8 points. Hyderabad just behind them, looking desperately for points on Sunday. And then those three, it's going to be a big tail. You talk about the three at the bottom. We've heard of a term called CPR, when you're gasping for breath and you need air. Well, folks, the points table has CPR. Chennai, Punjab, Rajasthan, they're the three at the bottom, desperately gasping for air. And if they don't do something about it quickly, they are going to stay rooted to that place, Simon.
Yeah, very good from you, Gautam. I think if we could just please stop the tournament now, that would be great, because they're the 4 teams I picked to be in the top 4 at the end of it. So if we just leave it as it is now, that's my top 4. It was at the start, and I'm pretty happy with it. But they are the best sides at the moment. Now, what we've talked about, and Joy and I have sort of talked about this as well, the bowling department, whether it be Delhi, Mumbai, Kolkata, and even Bangalore now that Morris is there, it's bowlers that win you T20 games. Batsmen get all the glory most of the time, unless I'm choosing the man of the match. But it's bowlers that the best bowling sides will win you T20 tournaments. And I stand by that. Yes, there's always going to be top quality batsmen, but the bowlers, if you've got to have a good core, 5-6 bowlers, and they will win you tournaments time and time again. And we've seen that today. We saw Kolkata come back and bowl beautifully, and we saw Bangalore with a score we thought was okay on the board, absolutely just smother Chennai and suffocate them to a point where their run rate went well and truly above 11, 12, 13, 14, game over. So, the bowlers are doing a great job, I think, today in particular. Both those games were brilliant from Kolkata's bowling effort and from Bangalore's.
Well, since you did mention Kolkata, it seems like a long time ago, but we did promise we have to hark back to it, because we didn't have enough time. Talk about it. We didn't have enough time to recover from what happened at the very end. So it's time to relive the last few moments of that and look at those last few overs. 4 overs, 29 runs to win. You've got 9 wickets in hand. KL Rahul is batting with Nicholas Puran. They've lost Mayank Agarwal, but it was done and dusted. It was just a matter of knocking it around, a couple of boundaries here and there, and it was over. And suddenly, it was an absolute disaster. Puran went, Rahul went, and then, of course, the inexplicable entrance of Prabsimran.
Yeah, absolutely. That is something that, you see, till then you can talk about Rahul and Mayank not finishing it early. And I think Yuvraj in a tweet also alluded to it, saying, look, don't take it that deep in a pitch like this, because if you do and you lose wickets, the guys coming in will going to find it difficult to score first. I can understand that. So, yeah, one of those two had stayed. Remember, all these innings that we've seen where teams have won chasing, one of the original guys has stayed on to finish. Whether it's Virat Kohli, somebody has stayed on the other side to finish. In this case, both the guys went. And the other thing is, Prabsimran over Maxwell. You're a batsman who's this is his second match. He's not played international cricket. He's suddenly been hit by this. And he's facing, Sunil Narine, one of the wiliest bowlers in the world. And he knows he just needs to pin him down. And then he, plays the 3 balls back, and the 4th ball, he goes and takes a single. And then Rahul's off strike again. It is just inexplicable what they did. And why?
Well, how is it, Joy? I've just jumped on Cricbuzz to have a quick look. 387 runs, KL Rahul. 337 runs, Mayank Agarwal. Numbers 1 and number 2 on the most runs list at the moment. Yet they are languishing. So there's other things that are going wrong in that side, Joy. That it's just, and they are not finishing the job for them. That's the biggest issue, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And look, I'll tell you one more thing. There is another factor, and I just hate to, it happens once in a while. 2009 KKR, and I hate to bring up those memories on a very happy day. But there's some times when everything you do turns out badly. They probably send in Professionalism saying, let's give him a bit of confidence. He'll get some runs. Things are going to happen. He collapses. Then Rahul gets out. It just, everything that can go wrong went wrong for them in the last 3 overs. And I think they're in that state of mind which is very, very difficult to get out of. They have some very strong individuals in that dressing room. But I really wish them luck. You don't wish this on any team.
No.
But Simon, the other side of the coin, it's one thing to see a circus evolving in front of you. But as a bowling unit, you've got to hold your nerve and say, if they're doing that, I don't care who's walked out. I mean, Prabhsimran, we might be talking about it now, but he is somebody who can play. So you've got to tell yourself, no matter what they do, you've got to hold your nerve. Sunil Narine at the end, but a word about Prasidh Krishna, walks into the team for the first time this season. And how good was he? 3 for 29, 12 dot deliveries. We haven't given enough credit to the Kolkata bowlers.
100%. They're brilliant. I mean, Pat Cummins, again, very economical. Love what he's doing and how he's leading this bowling attack, whether it be with wickets or just his attitude. I mean, they were able to leave Shivam Mavi out today, who I think has been good. Now, they just rested him. Maybe Nagarkoti gets a rest next game and Mavi comes in and Krishna stays now with 3 for 29. He was superb. But then you look down that list, Chakravarti and Narine, 27 and 28. 55 runs off 8 overs between those two guys. Now, yes, only 2 wickets between them, and they both went to Narine. But to me, that's where quality is. We've talked about Narine just not quite being at his best, but he has been back. The last couple of games, Sunil Narine has come back, and I think he's bowled beautifully. He's just starting to figure it out a little bit more. Maybe he's got a bit more confidence back after a good performance. And he complements that side. And I go back to it. I continually say it. I thought that they had one of the better bowling attacks in the competition. Time will tell on Andre Russell. He is a massive blow. Just not only with the bat, but just those 1 to 2 overs that he provides. And he's done it during this tournament. He's pulled off a couple of really good overs at the back end of games when he's only bowled 2 overs. So if something is wrong and if he can't play, it's going to be a massive loss for Kolkata.
Yeah, let's have a look at what Kolkata have ahead. The next one is Bangalore, and look where it is. It's in Sharjah. They've got a couple of games there, one against Punjab, one against Bangalore. And then they're going to be camped in Abu Dhabi between the 16th and the 24th. So that's going to be a crucial period because they can get used to, again, one venue for those 4 games. So interesting mix for Kolkata, Joy, that lies ahead.
Yeah, interesting mix for Kolkata, and I completely agree. I mean, they will be sweating on Russell's fitness. I mean, again, Sunil Narine, I never bothered about because Sunil Narine is one of those players who's got ice in his veins. I mean, I've seen him in dressing rooms after championships. I've seen him in dressing rooms after humiliating defeats, and he just is the same. He's totally and utterly phlegmatic. You couldn't hope for a better player to hand the last over to. And he's going to be like that. But I mean, I'm saying that if you are KKR, do you actually take a chance and say, you know what, let Russell rest out this one. Let's give him 6 clear days to recover, because then we're going to have 3 matches in a row. If on the 12th he aggravates whatever it is, those 3 matches are in danger. And I would say, just rest him against Bangalore on the 12th and get him fresh and ready for Mumbai on the 16th, because he is really important to them. And look, I think they're good enough to qualify without him, but I don't know if they can win a championship without him.
Yeah, it would be so tempting depending on what the seriousness of it is, because you're seeing Bangalore, you're seeing Sharjah, and you're saying, oh, we really want him there because, I mean, if there was one fixture, you would probably want him there. But also, kudos to the captain. I mean, no matter what everyone else did at the end, bringing Sunil Narine on, making those key decisions, being brave enough to shave the beard. It was all key decisions that Dinesh Karthik took. And of course, we've already talked about his batting. Outstanding finish to put those runs on in the first place when all the others around him didn't quite contribute. And yes, for the first game, Dinesh Karthik is our feature on the Boost Stamina Meter. Gone up in the ratings to 84.6. That 58 of 29 was outstanding. It was Dinesh Karthik, the finisher that we knew. A total of 96 of the team runs came from 56 balls while he was at the crease. And of course, he did plenty of running, not to mention all the work he did when he was in the field and captaining the side. So, Simon, we've talked about the bowling. We've given credit there, but Dinesh Karthik deserves a lot of kudos for that victory.
Yep, absolutely. I thought, he was brilliant. Not only the batting side of things, and I've talked about that, I thought one of the best I've seen from him for quite a while, and particularly in a Kolkata shirt. The captaincy, and it wasn't an easy job. Bowling Pat Cummins out early to try and pick up that wicket, and if he didn't pick up the wicket, he was to keep it quiet, choosing to keep Narine towards the back end. Krishna having faith in him. There's all these little things that the captain starts to think about, and he marshalled his troops well. He's getting very good help. He's getting great advice as well from Owen Morgan and the senior players around him. And I just think maybe that mix is starting to work. Maybe that it's gelling. We've been calling for Dinesh Karthik to do the finishing job. I think that's his role. Bat at 5 or 6. It's probably 6 I'd prefer if Andre Russell is fit, and Morgan at 4 and Russell at 5 and DK at 6. And that's kind of what I would prefer. But if Russell's not available, maybe it has to be 5. So I like him in that finishing role because he's got all of the shots. He can play all around the ground, plays quick bowling well, and can use his feet to the spinners.
Yeah, a year ago, Joy, if there was one question mark that we were asking, or few, for this particular outfit that didn't do as well, Kolkata, one of them was the leadership of Karthik, and that's the area he started to fix.
So I think exactly what Simon has said. It's leadership, captaincy. In the way we look at it is, I think we put too much on the captain, because nowadays it's really a fielding unit, it's a bowling unit, it's Owen Morgan, it's captain, coach, and test, and most 80% of the decisions are collective decisions. So to put it on the captain, he puts his touch on it. I think he has excellent advice now, and advice that he's willing to listen to, and advice he trusts. The important thing is not just getting good advice, it's trusting that advice. And I think he's prepared to trust it this year. That's what's making the difference.
Yep. Captain leading from the front in both games. Dinesh Karthik for Kolkata, Virat Kohli for Bangalore, and the leadership has shown on a Saturday in the desert. But we also had lots of other choices. Remember, those were 2 captains in Karthik and Kohli, but we had 1,000 other captains there, 10,000 other captains there, picking their teams on their My 11 Circle apps. And of course, at the end of the day, we collate all of that and we bring you the My 11 Circle ultimate team of the day. First, let's look at the team from game 1. And this was the perfect combination. If you had a majority of these players, you would be very close to the person who is going to be announced for as our winner. KL Rahul, Dinesh Karthik, obviously the 2 leaders were leading from the front. And then those key names you had to pick. Ashdeep Singh would be one of those names not everybody might pick, but today he was brilliant. In game 2, we had another different set of people, and you'd expect the captain there again to be featuring. And you can see that he features as the captain here. Chris Morris coming into the side, walks in as vice captain. That's how good the choices have been for Bangalore. Padikkal, Shivam Dube, Yuzvendra Chahal, and Washington Sundar have featured virtually every single time that Bangalore have been around. And at the end of a long Saturday, of course, we want to find the winner and reward him or her. So our winner today, our My 11 Circle champion of the day, Shashank Chauhan from Shahjahanpur in Uttar Pradesh, 390 points. And it can be tough when you've got a double header, lots of players to choose from to make the correct choices. Saturday was a big day. Sunday is going to be an even bigger day. At night, it's going to be a top table clash. But in the afternoon, it's going to be the brightest colors on the table who are going to be taking each other on. Pink against orange, Hyderabad against Rajasthan. And this is massive for several reasons. The most important reason is how valuable the points are going to be, especially for a team like Rajasthan. They've been floundering, and that pink has been fading slightly. The royal pink, the regal pink. Simon Doull, they need to sort this very, very quickly.
Yeah, I was just checking my phone actually just to make sure that if I told you I was going to be there tomorrow, I would actually be there. that was what I was checking. So apologies if I was looking away from him. I am actually on the game tomorrow, so I will be there. I'm not sure whether I'm doing the toss though or not. They need something. They need some inspiration. Does Ben Stokes provide that inspiration? I don't know. They've looked like a side that has just lost their way with the bat more so than anything. I don't think their bowling was particularly bad the other night. I thought they did a pretty good job, but they've lost their way with the bat, and that's been the biggest issue for Rajasthan. I don't know. Butler's been okay. Smith has certainly lost his way after the first couple of innings. Sanju Samson has as well, and they're just struggling to find something. They relied again quite heavily on Tuatia the other night.
Yeah, that can be a worry, but big question. Two real questions for you, Joy, on Ben Stokes. One is there a lot of expectation and pressure coming in straight off that flight and quarantine? 65 days since he's played a game, and he's being expected to perform miracles.
See, I'll tell you, I think Ben Stokes is a very Botham kind of character. They love this. We'll come out of the middle of nowhere. Toss me the ball and I'll do something. So don't be surprised if Ben Stokes goes there, scores 50, takes 3 wickets and does everything. Because these guys are, some of these guys, and Ben Stokes, their personality is built for that big stage. I'm the man. I'm going to do it all. And that's how he operates. So look, just him being there is going to be a big plus to the team, because as all of you have been saying, Steve Smith is not looking the Steve Smith that we know. And it's not just a question of how he captains the team, it's how he's batting. Take a look at the kind of way he's batting, the kind of risks he's taking, because he's far too good a batsman to play some of the strokes that he's playing right now. And that shows a guy who's clearly not in the perfect frame of mind. So Ben Stokes will make a difference to all that, because he is an ebullient personality, and he is like, Gorilla Gautam. He's going to come there and he's going to, I'm here, guys. Superman's here. Don't worry. So I think it will make a difference, even if he doesn't perform that way.
The other question is, in whose place does he walk in? Obviously, Archer, Butler, and Steve Smith pretty much retain their places. So I guess it's a no-brainer that Andrew Tye has to make it.
You feel for the two guys this year, don't you? I mean, David Miller played one game, got run out without facing a ball, and then got run out without facing a ball. He was subbed out. Andrew Tye, one game, I think he went for 50. He's going to be subbed out, and he's gone now, and Ben Stokes will walk into that spot. What my issue around Steve Smith, and I know this is going to sound tough on Joswell, but I just think that Smith's best place in 2020 cricket is right at the top of the order. So maybe him and Jos Buttler, then they have to find just another. They can actually play another bowler if they want to with Ben Stokes coming in, because he provides that batting and bowling option. So they could play another bowler if they wanted to, if they want to bring Ankit Rajput back in, perhaps. If they want to look for another spin bowling option, they could do that and bring Markande back in, or they could bring Manan Vora back in as a middle order player in that side. So it does strengthen their side, because he plays all three roles. He bowls, he bats. The batting might be the only thing that he's possibly going to struggle with a little bit. He's bowled a lot of deliveries. He's been in Christchurch in New Zealand. Weather's been decent. He's been outdoors. He's been training at a place, I think it's been Burnside Park in Christchurch. Been using his old club that he played for way back in the early days, and he's had good facilities to train hard in. And when he's obviously been here, he's been allowed outside to train without training with the team. So in that front, it's batting that will be the issue. I think bowling and fitness, he should be okay.
Quick look at the schedule that lies ahead for them before we talk about Hyderabad. We've looked at the schedules for the other teams that lie ahead. This is sort of that halfway stage for most of the teams, 6 or 7 games played. If you've played 6, you've got 1 more to reach halfway. They play Hyderabad. That's the one we're talking about on the 11th. That's tomorrow. And then 14, 17, 19, Delhi, Bangalore, Chennai, and Dubai, and Abu Dhabi. So that's how they finish off. But no matter what their schedule might be, it's getting to a stage when they don't want to be losing games and having to win 5 out of 7 to even qualify.
Yeah, and I think what's happening out here is both these teams, look what, RCB, they were not just trying to win. They were trying to deal a knockout blow to Chennai. What teams try and do in this stage of the tournament, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th game, is just put some teams so far behind that the race for the semi-finals gets smaller and smaller. And what teams are trying to do, so tomorrow what Hyderabad will do is that if they win against Rajasthan, they say, okay, Rajasthan, Punjab are almost out of it. CSK is also on the edge. So now, out of 5 teams, 4 have to qualify. That looks much better. What you want to do is knock out teams who you think are below you and you think are down. And that's why teams will go harder at you now. And it's a funny one that tomorrow you see two matches. There's a top of table clash tomorrow in the evening. But I'll tell you, the stakes or the kind of performances you'll see in the field are likely to be even more desperate for the afternoon game than for the night game.
Certainly will be. We talked about the pink of Rajasthan, but in the opposition, it's not that Hyderabad have been running away with it. They are, of course, used to being at the very top end of the table. What are the issues that they need to sort? Maybe 3 games ago, Simon, we were talking about Johnny Bairstow being a possible person who has to make way in case we want a Billy Stanlake to come in. Well, that's all out. Johnny Bairstow's there till the end of the tournament, as is David Warner, Rashid Khan. So really, if you're looking for any other foreign player, Kane Williamson becomes a question mark, Simon.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's the name I mentioned as well. It was a toss-up with those two. Bairstow was brilliant the other night. Just he deserved 100, didn't quite get there. But that's the impetus, that's the start that the Sunrisers needed. The first time we'd seen David Warner and Johnny Bairstow really go properly and get their team off to an amazing start. So that is what they're looking for. That's what they need. Their only option if they want to get Stanlake in. And I still think it's a harsh call, but I'll go back to the fact that those quick bowlers that are doing so well, you look at that leaderboard, you look at the bowlers that are owning this IPL at the moment, and you only have to look at Shami and Rabada and Bolt and Pattinson and Bumrah. I mean, they're all quick bowlers, and Natarajan's doing a good job for Hyderabad, but I just think they need that little bit of X factor, and Billy Stanlake could provide that if they can find enough batting cover.
Yes, and when we talk about the next game, 2 of the names that Simon Doull mentioned are going to be going head-to-head in that. It's a top table clash from Abu Dhabi at night. It's Mumbai against Delhi. It's Bumrah against Rabada, and that's going to be quite a clash there because you've got quality bowling, 2 teams high on confidence, looking to take that confidence even further and looking to almost be at a stage when you're starting to eye semi-final places and where you want to be rather than if you want to be there. So it really can't pick a winner in that game, Simon, but they've reached a stage in the tournament where maybe it's not do or die anymore, or at least for that point.
No, it's not. And again, go back to Joy's point before about pushing teams towards the bottom. You almost want, if you're in that middle of the pack, you want one team to run away with it as well. And then it just makes that fight a little bit closer in the middle. And so you don't know what the teams down the bottom and the middle will be hoping for. They just want Mumbai to run away if they can. And just put a space on everyone else, and then the other teams can fight out for that 3rd spot. So people at the bottom of the table, in the middle of the table, and the top are all wanting different things, Joy, aren't they? It's a weird situation.
This is usually the time when we have our previews, gentlemen, when we try and look at the possible changes. But given the fact that throughout the tournament, we've seen virtually no changes other than for injuries. Had one tactical change where Saurabh Tiwari gave way and Ishan Kishan came in for Mumbai, and that worked really well. We'll have a look at Mumbai. I don't think there's any reason for them to tamper with or touch that team. Would you agree, gentlemen?
You know what? I think Mumbai could change tomorrow. I think tomorrow is a tactical game. Tomorrow is, I can tell you, some of the coaches, and yes, it is 4-1 versus 4-2, but they're also saying, you know what? We're going to meet these guys again at the business end of the tournament at some point in time. So expect them to be feeling out each other also in times of understanding. So, if they're going to turn around and say that, I am going to play against Delhi, do I play another spinner against Delhi? Are they slightly more vulnerable to spin? Prithvi Shaw. Rohit Sharma knows Prithvi Shaw's batting better than anyone else. He's seen him in the nets, he's seen him grow. How are we going to target him? So a lot of very, very tactical operations will come into mind over this match. And I'm going to watch with a great deal of interest because I somehow, for some reason, expect sides to actually experiment tomorrow.
Interesting one, an interesting point of view. I'm glad we just didn't get an agreement point of view there from you, Joy. What about Delhi? Let's look at Delhi. Again, a team who have not really tinkered around too much from the start of the tournament. They've had to get rid of just one player, and that's due to injury. They've had a couple of injury worries. Obviously, Ishant Sharma at one point, Ashwin came in, and of course, Amit Mishra is not there to the rest of the tournament. But the rest, Simon?
Yeah, look, just a really good side. I mean, I've been impressed with Harshal Patel. I think he's a genuine all-round cricketer. Now, I know he's had a little bit of time at the national level, but I think he's a player that could really do a job. He's brilliant in the field. In subcontinent type conditions and in these UAE type conditions with the ball slowing up a little bit, his slower balls are absolutely brilliant. He looks like a player who can bat and bat very well in that sort of middle to lower order. So been impressed with him. Obviously, Nokia and Rabada we've talked about a lot. They've got no reason to change any of that. And that top four, they've got the best top four of local players. And, and that to me is a really good thing. I don't think you leave Shikhar Dhawan out just yet. He hasn't been at his best. Their only option for there is probably to bring Ajinkya Rahane into that spot and maybe open the batting with him. The rest of it just looks after itself. Quality spin in Ashwin and Akshar Patel, both who love to bowl and can bowl in the power plays. So, and Marcus Stoinis is having a whale of a tournament. It's a good-looking side.
And that really, Joy, is a surprise package. I think every team would like to look at a surprise package. We've seen Morris coming in today, and he could be the one that takes it till the end of the tournament. Marcus Stoinis really wasn't expecting to play, comes into the tournament, that 50 of 21 balls when they were in deep trouble, probably set the trend for Delhi for the entire tournament.
No, absolutely. And their top order is firing. I totally agree with Simon. I don't think they're going to change very much. Ponting likes the look of it. He likes aggressive batsmen up front. And it's very clear, Rahane is their cover. So if somebody gets injured, he's their nice, solid batsman they can put in at any point in time. But they don't really need to play him at this point in time. Harshal Patel, of course, the biggest advantage he has is he's played many of his years in RCB. And if you're a bowler playing for RCB, obviously, you're never high on confidence. I think these surfaces suit him much more. The slightly larger grounds suit him much more. So I think this is a situation where you're definitely see a lot of. Yeah, and see, the other thing, Simon, I was thinking about is it's not just Harshal Patel. Harshal Patel is a brilliant cricketer, but I think even if he goes out and Ishant Sharma comes in tomorrow, I think Ishant is giving them just as much with the ball. And obviously, he has that height to give that bounce, which could, especially batsmen like Rohit Sharma and all, he could bother. So if Ishant is fit, I would genuinely look at him coming in.
I wonder whether, as we get later in the tournament with Delhi, Ishant coming in now is still a viable option to me. As we get later in the tournament, and we've already seen these pitches started to slow up a little bit, they've got genuine pace in Rabada and Nokia, and maybe Ishant in for a couple of games now, and then Harshal Patel back towards the end of the tournament when it's just slowing up. Because I think he's probably got one of the better slower balls in the tournament. It really dips. He puts a lot of revs on it. His arm action very rarely changes. I've been impressed with him.
Yeah. Okay, gentlemen, I'm going to have to interrupt you there for some breaking news. We've just been talking about one of the players. We've praised him today in Sunil Narine. But the big news is that Sunil Narine has been reported for bowling with a suspected illegal bowling action during his side's game against Kings 11 Punjab at Abu Dhabi today. The report was made by the on-field umpires. According to the suspected illegal bowling action policy, he will be placed on the warning list, but is permitted to continue to bowl in the tournament. Quick reaction, gentlemen.
I have dealt with this before. I was in the dressing room when it happened the last time around. And there used to be a particular ball of his, which is the ball that used to come in, which they felt jerk. The point is, what happens is the match referee actually gives you a list of the balls that are supposed to be suspect. And what you do is you go back with your analyst, sit back with that list and say, okay, this is the ball we are not supposed to bowl. The truth is, it rarely works like that. In the next match that we did play, and this is in 2014, he never used that delivery at all. So my worry is that if you're called once for a suspect action, it's very, very difficult for you to escape being called a second time. So that's my worry. And I know Sunil Narine is smart enough. He's come here before. He's been in this situation before. He's smart enough not to make the same mistakes. But will that stop him from being called is a very different matter altogether. Because you know what happens with umpires? Once they call, now every other umpire is on notice. Saying that, I'm going to watch him like a hawk. And then it becomes difficult for the bowler.
And remember, in the CPL recently, he did miss a couple of games. There was a slight knee injury. They didn't talk too much about it. But in reality, the action was also being watched out for.
Yeah, and look, that's part of the reason for Sunil Narine not playing international cricket as well. He knows he's on notice, and he knows that his time is limited if he continues to try and bowl those certain deliveries. And the thing is, what happens when you're under the pump, when you're under pressure, you revert to type, and you look for any way possible to win a game, and that's possibly when it happened late in the piece tonight. And I feel for the guy because he's great for the game and he's brilliant, but we can't have that in our game, sadly.
So again, that just becomes a little bit of a factor in terms of team selection for the next game. Have a look at the schedule. Sharjah game. Could you possibly be playing without Russell and Narine, Joy?
Yeah, look, I would give him off for a couple of days. I mean, it right now in the situation that Kolkata is in, they could. The question is, can they do without both Andre Russell and Sunil Narine? That's now beginning to hurt you because you can get Tom Banton in for a couple of matches and it's actually good for. I think it's a good fresh injection of some young talent into KKR. Both of them being replaced now, you're talking about a different matter altogether. Because see, the bowling is, other than Pat Cummins, the bowling is a young bowling side. It's Sunil Narine and Pat Cummins who anchor that bowling. Whatever you say about Varun Chakravarti, he's had a good year, but this is his first effective year in the IPL. Prasidh Krishna, Shivam Mavi. None of these guys are guys in which you anchor a bowling side. So now if you have two question marks, it's a bit more so, hold out. Just if you're a KKR fan, pray that, Andre is fit and you can afford to give Sunil a bit of a rest.
Yep. Watch this space. We'll bring you all the updates on Russell, on Narine, and everything around what was possibly might be a little bit of a touch of controversy. But to go back to the gentleman who I just detected a bit of a frown on his face. But Joy, it's only fair because you have a chance every day to make everyone frown because they're all never really sure about how to answer those questions, and that too in 5 seconds flat. Today you had a slightly easier one, Joy. Remind us.
Yeah, okay. The question was, whose international career started with a century by Geoffrey Boycott and ended with a century by a man Geoffrey called the Prince of Calcutta? And of course, it's Dickie Bird, Harold Dickie Bird. He started the first match that he umpired in Test cricket was, I think, versus New Zealand, where Geoffrey Boycott got 111. The last match was, of course, Saurav Ganguly's debut, Rahul Dravid's debut, that famous Lord's Test match in 1996. So that was Dickie Bird, and it's quite a coincidence. He was an amazing man. I mean, just reading his memoirs today, he was a character and a half.
Yeah, wonderful bloke. Had the fortune of a test match in Zimbabwe, I think it was, when Dickie Bird umpired. It might have even been one of my first or second test matches, I think, in Zimbabwe. Brilliant.
Did you get a positive decision from him, Simon?
I remember very little about my career, to be honest with you, Gautam. Most of the bad things.
Fair enough. Dickie was a hard man to get an LBW out of. But let's find out who was the winner of this question. We had lots and lots of right answers. And Siddhant Khajuria, Sid RK27, one of our regulars, came in with that answer and came in with it in the blink of an eye. Good old Dickie Bird. Well, that's been a long day. It's been a day where we've seen a close match, a slightly one-sided match, a bit of controversy to finish off with, but so much more to look forward to. And it's been two gentlemen who've been keeping their stamina going all through Saturday. Simon Doull, Joy Bhattacharjya. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank
Simon,
you.
You've got a day in the desert tomorrow. You're going to be in the middle, so enjoy that.
I will, mate. Afternoon game, be nice and warm.
Lovely. Enjoy. I will see you tomorrow back on My 11 Circle Presents Cricbuzz Live, and we'll be joined by Michael Vaughan. And it'll be great to have a three-way discussion on that. All of you, please join us. It's going to be orange against pink in the afternoon. It's going to be the top table clash, Mumbai against Delhi at night. It's all to look forward to later on Sunday. That's been another long day. My 11 Circle Presents Cricbuzz Live.